Welcome to tonight's broadcast, Being Social, Episode 1.4, Diversity in the Entertainment Industry. This is Gregory Mikell, your host and moderator for Being Social, the weekly live on-air broadcast not limited to radio waves, but accessible to millions of users around the globe via the internet or phone. All you need is a voice, a concern, and a longing to be heard for social causes. This program is distributed by Acclaim Theatricals LLC, broadcast from Manhattan absolutely free, and we intend to keep it that way. It's without these fees that we can be sure to provide forum participants with an unbiased platform to be heard and are given one less excuse not to take an active role as a concerned citizen. Therefore, we, like your local public access station, will rely on corporate sponsorship to cover administrative costs. We can be contacted at admin@acclaimtheatricals.com or our company site at acclaimtheatricals.com, as well as gregorymikell.com. And if you wish to speak with us, yes, imagine that we actually do like to talk to you, do phone in at 562-645-3551 this evening, as well as throughout the work week for queries or to pose a topic. Also, while visiting acclaimtheatricals.com, feel free to sign up for the monthly, where you'll be provided with the next month's broadcast programming. Updated season listings can also be found on IMDb, the Internet Movie Database. Welcome. This is Gregory Mikell, your host and moderator for the podcast Being Social, the on-air live podcast broadcast from Manhattan. I'm happy to be back this evening. We were off last week, but we have a lot to talk about this evening. And of course, tonight's subject is episode 1.4, Diversity in the Entertainment Industry. We had a guest who was coming on the show, but he had a last-minute emergency conflict. Kyung Sim, our actor on the West Coast in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, he will not be able to join us tonight. However, he is looking forward to joining us for a later programming. Nonetheless, we have three other callers scheduled to phone in and take part in tonight's forum. I've just sent them an invite to join our forum tonight. And of course, you are more than welcome, to phone in at 562-645-3551 to join our open free forum either tonight on every Friday evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the States. Tonight, we explore diversity in the entertainment industry. Among the aspects of the forum, I'm suggesting that we look at the changes in film and television over the past decade with America's rapid changing demographics of not only ethnicity, but gender and age. For example, we have such shows as Community, The L Word, Betty White on Hot in Cleveland. How about that? Talk about rejuvenating a career. It's been great to have her back. She's been quite a delight as always and has quite a large fan base. Let's also explore the Hispanic population growth, non-traditional parental households, and how viewer content is being affected in the variety of offerings. Now, in addition, the lack of representation of the Asian American demographic on the network television's airwaves, as well as in film, when considering their contribution to the country's economic well-being, education, and vast industries. Let's not forget sports. For example, tennis. Early on in the sport, one of the world's most noted African-American tennis players, Arthur Ashe, was an American world #1 professional tennis player. He won 3 Grand Slam titles, ranking him among the best tennis players from the United States. Ashe, an African-American, was the first black player ever selected to the United States Davis Cup team, and the only black man ever to win the singles title at Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and the Australian Open. And the Australian Open. He retired in 1980. He played a pivotal role, of course, in opening doors for other ethnic players in the game, such as the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus, as well as Tiger Woods. For women, don't forget the former player Billie Jean King, an American former world #1 professional tennis player. King won a total of 39 Grand Slam titles throughout her career. Any thoughts? I have plenty. So these things, I think, are just a sampling of the ways that America's colorful palette thrives from diverse talent from other ethnicities, from other countries when they come over and they sow the seed and help this country to become a world leader. And we mustn't forget that. We must show appreciation and respect for it. I'm looking forward to our callers joining in. Again, I was hoping to have Kyung Sim come on the airwaves, but of course, as it is in the industry, we are if you are an artist or an actor, you know that last minute things come up and you have to go. So he said he was looking forward to tonight's broadcast, but will be joining us again later. And I was really looking forward to having his perspective as an Asian American on the changes in the industry. Of course, Kyung Sim recently appeared in TNT's Monday Mornings. Which has just unfortunately been canceled, but it was a really good show, and we were hoping, a lot of people were hoping, our friends on Facebook were hoping the show would be picked up. But there's so much going on in television here in New York. There's a plethora of broad programming, more than we've had in a very long time. So I think we have something like 50 productions currently going, not only in television and film, but there's a lot more opportunities for diversity in casting. So I think that the networks, and with cable especially, willing to take more chances. HBO, USA, FX, all of these are doing a great job and award-winning programming of coloring the palette and representing America as it truly is, a colorful palette of life every day in the street and every day on the programming. It's amazing to me, though. I came to New York in 1996. And that's when I began my acting career, doing classical studies. And at that time, I was talking to friends recently about this. I remember there were many more opportunities for diversity casting. When I look at my resume, most of the work that I've done has been non-traditional casting, because I started out in classical studies, studying Shakespeare and doing Chekhov. And in the early 90s and the early 2000s, it was people were more open-minded. Now, also, economics always, of course, plays a factor in how things are cast and which things get cast. Because it's so much more expensive now to produce anything, especially looking at Broadway. You can't open a Broadway show for less than several $1 million just for a few weeks' run. It reminds me of Fiona Shaw's show, The Testament of Mary. I can't imagine what the budget for that was, but it only had a very short run, and it was an award-winning play. So it's quite amazing. There's so many factors that factor into everything. And when we think in terms of entertainment, we always think in terms of television and film first and foremost. But again, as I mentioned, sports is such a broad field, and of course, it's I think that sports is more accessible for other ethnicities, for people coming from other countries. It's a more colorful palette, I think, and it's a little more accessible to get into because it's one of those things that if you don't have that physical skill and that physical prowess, no matter what your history is or where you're coming from, it's not going to matter. It's like doing theater. You may have access if you've gone to an Ivy League school or you have a family member or a heritage line, but if you don't have the talent to sustain that, then it's going to show no matter who you are and where you're coming from. So I think that sports is that equalizer, and like theater is that equalizer that says it doesn't matter what your skin color is or what your heritage is or what your economic standing is. If you're an exceptional talent, the world is open to that and will embrace you. I was not much of a sports kid nor an adult. I did play a little football as a kid. I did run track as a hobby, not competitively, but those are things that I'm glad that I had the physical prowess and the ability to burn off that energy. And I look at people like Tiger Woods, and I look at the Serena sisters, and I'm very proud that they have achieved what they have. And I look at people like Arthur Ashe, who really, I mean, if you think about it, when Arthur Ashe was around, he was at his climax of his career in the 80s. That's when he was at the top of his game, and he had a heart attack, unfortunately, which I think that was pretty much the end of his career, and things changed significantly, of course. But when you think about the pressure that had to be on them during that period, that was a pressure when there was still lots of racial tension, there wasn't as much diversity. He was the first African-American male to accomplish those things. Billie Jean King being a woman, that the pressure that had to be on her, setting that precedent in the game of tennis. It's amazing, and I really respect people like that. And those are the people who I admire the most. Those are the people that I've always been one that, as an artist, I think we are all very, very sort of the black sheep of whatever we're doing, because we understand each other, and not many people can, and it's understandable. It's where that right brain and the left brain just have that separation. It's hard to switch over. That's changing, of course, because in the industry, you can no longer be the visceral artist and make build a sustainable career. You have to become the business person. And I think that that's the equalizer. Technology is doing that. And I think that that will allow us as independent artists to create more diverse programming. Um, I myself am producing a lot of content right now. The web series with technology, being able to edit, you can do so much from your home studio now as far as editing goes for sound, for video. Um, Green screen, which was once a very expensive proposition, is now more affordable to the independent filmmaker. I remember Sundance when it started, that was what every independent filmmaker aspired to. And now it's Cannes has even opened up to short films, and that's great. I mean, I'm really happy to see that because that really gives us other avenues. And now with online distribution beginning to take hold, having started out with Hulu and Netflix, and now Amazon, of course, is moving in. Vimeo is now offering distribution. So it's like there's so much to look forward to in the creative world. So guys, don't be intimidated by the cost of how much you think it might cost, because now it's so much more affordable. If you can buy a couple of grand to buy a decent computer, a decent Mac, you can do so much. And don't put your fate in someone else's hands and wait for someone to write a role for you. I've met so many actors who do that, and I'm like, you have the capacity to do this. You just have to be willing to do the hard work and learn. For me, it was trial by error. I haven't taken any classes in editing or anything, but I've been doing it since 2007. And now I've been writing for the last 10 years, and I finally have all these scripts that I've developed, and I'm looking forward to helping young actors to get their first union contract. For example, with my Shakespeare series, I'll be calling in. I've scheduled appointments to call in starting the third week of June. I'll be calling in over 100 actors that I saw at castings back in April and May. So I'm looking forward to being able to. It's really fulfilling to be able to offer those opportunities to the most talented candidates. And race or ethnicity or gender doesn't play a factor into it. It's really good to see people who are really talented, who otherwise, without your help, wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to move their career forward to a professional level. So I'm really happy that I can offer that to them, and the hard work and the foundation that I built here affords me the opportunity to do that through your creative skill of writing or producing or directing something, your original content that you own. So I think that if I gave any advice, even though you're not asking, but if you're a young artist or you're an established artist and you're looking for a way to take control of your career, I'd say the first thing is explore collaborating or writing and creating content of your own. Because then you're not leaving the fate of your career in someone else's hands. It's not a determination. It's not going to be determined by your age or your ethnicity or your economic background. You have the capacity to take control of this. You have the capacity to create content, to collaborate. If you don't have the skill of writing, find someone who can. If you want to get behind the camera, there are always someone who's willing to let you PA or to sit in on a writing session. Or it's one of those things I truly believe that you only get when you ask. So if you know that there's something that you want to do, don't be afraid to put the word out, because if you put the word out, someone who's willing is going to hear it. I remember I was at a casting session in April, and it was a 2-day all weekend event, and we were there from I think 10 to 5 each day. So it was a bit exhausting, but it was great to see so much talent. And there were a lot of other producers in the audience, a lot of other agents in the audience and everything. And during our breaks we would talk, and I remember someone came up to me and she said, I want to learn about film. And I said, well, do you have any background? And she said, no. I said, well, what's your interest? And she said, well, I don't know where I'd like to start. I said, well, I'm having a casting session coming up, and you're welcome to sit in. I didn't know her, but I was willing to do that simply because she asked. So that's something that, guys, don't be afraid to open your mouths. You're actors. That's what we do. We open our mouths. We talk. We love to talk. We love to tell stories. So don't be bashful about it. Don't be afraid to do it. Terry Schreiber, I recently attended their casting session, their annual showcase, and they had a lot of great talent. It was a nice evening. And I'm looking at possibly teaching a class on integrating media and art, because I think so many actors that I've met, they're intimidated by the technology. We're visceral beings, artists. We love to create. We love to just delve into our work. But unfortunately, in the business today, the business is becoming necessary, even more so than ever, to do the show, to enjoy the work. So take control of your career. Don't sit back waiting for someone else to tell you, I've got a role for you. Why should someone do that? They don't owe you anything. The business doesn't owe you anything. You owe it to yourself to at least be willing to fail. For me, that's my mantra. I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to learn. And you only learn by risking, by putting yourself out there. So I'm waiting for callers to come in. We have 3. I've just sent out invites to our 3 participants. I'm hoping that they're remember to log on. And if not, Again, you can always find this podcast listed on acclaimtheatricals.com, as well as gregorymikell.com, YouTube, or Vimeo, absolutely free. This is my gift to you. This is an opportunity for you to come on air for a global broadcast. We are not limited to a region of radio stations or radio waves. Anyone with access to the internet or a phone is free to call in. You can always go to eventbrite.com and search for podcast Being Social. And there you'll find the full season, all 12 episodes and topics listed in order. This is episode 4. Next week, episode 5 will be breaking down Obama healthcare. Now, this is a very interesting topic. We already have people signing up for this. So many people are confused about, as citizens, where we fall, and as small business owners, where you fall and what you can expect economically. I'm still confused about it. So I've been speaking to medical professionals, and I'm hoping that I can get at least one or possibly two to come on this time next Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, to help demystify what we can expect. As you know, 2014, the final phases of Obama healthcare come into place. And so we need to know exactly how we'll be affected if you have medical insurance and if you don't. If you're a business owner, small or large, how will you be affected and how much of your bottom line will be allocated to insuring your employees if you're not a sole proprietor. Of course, this is America's first universal health care plan. We will attempt to break down and demystify to help you understand how you'll be affected as a consumer. I've made 30 free tickets available for next week's forum discussion. I encourage you to RSVP now if you have questions or concerns regarding Obama healthcare. Simply, again, go to eventbrite.com. If you missed last week's episode 3, the student loan crisis, you can find it hosted on acclaimtheatricals.com and gregorymikell.com, as well as YouTube and Vimeo for free. While there, do subscribe to our channels or sign up for the company newsletter hosted on Acclaim Theatricals website to stay up to date and informed on what's going on with us and upcoming episodes. Make your reservation now by emailing us at admin@acclaimtheatricals.com or going to Eventbrite and searching for podcast Being Social, where you'll find the full listing of Season 1 upcoming topics to choose from.